But we should also note that the Makerere School of Public Health, and I think there might be some people in this conversation who are from the School of Public Health, think the police's numbers are only a third of the deaths. So the deaths are in the range of 9,000 to 10,000, or possibly even more, because some of the deaths that happen after the crashes in hospitals or at home or en route hospitals may not be recorded. But again, we can talk about the robustness of the police numbers and possibly the methods. Fatalities by road user group: pedestrians, people who are walking. These are people who are not driving, people who are not riding motorcycles are the ones dying most, and by quite a distance, followed by motorcyclists. Boda really, the phenomenon of boda has made motorcycling a large issue when we talk road safety in Uganda. And you can see that the two groups constituted more than 60% of all persons that died. And I'm just emphasizing this because not that it's good for people to be injured, but when you lose a life, that's pretty much it. If you're injured, you may have a chance. You may have another chance. And the highest number of pedestrian deaths were recorded in 2019 and the lowest in 2014. And motorcyclist deaths, the highest record was in 2020, the lowest. Again, this is an interesting point here, because maybe because they allowed motorcycles to keep moving even within defined hours. They were not as careful as they should be. Not that they are very much careful. Fatalities by gender: more men are dying. Men are dying, and you can see that graphic there. All those, if you take any number, 100 or 1,000, so more than 3/4 of all persons who die in road crashes are men. The question is, why? Is it because they're the ones who are mostly out and about? Is it because they take more risks? Is it because most of them ride bodas, drive taxis, heavy trucks, etc.? Fatalities by age: those of you aged 25 to 34 are dying the most. But if you take that number and go down, say anything between from 5 actually to 35 or 44 if you want. So basically young people, school-going children, and people in the most productive age groups are dying the most. Our friends who are age 75, not that there are many of them, but of course there are wazeis, they stay at home. I think they're not all over the place, so they're dying the least, which is a good thing, I suppose. Causes of road crashes in Uganda: careless driving, followed by reckless driving, were the top causes of road crashes over the last 10 years. Now we have experts on the call. What's careless driving? What's reckless driving? I think they can explain that a little bit. Speeding, which, by the way, from this chart here, speeding is, where is speeding? Speeding is over here. Not it's high, but not terribly high. But maybe is that a fair representation or not, given that the theme for this year's National Road Safety Week is speed saves lives. Time of road crashes: 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. You could say that's the death hour. Obviously, that's because it's maybe rush hour time. People picking up children, people leaving office to go back home. The jam and all the things we know happen on our roads. Motor cars, you would say my car, something like that, and bikes. Motorcycles contributed the most. Those were the two types or categories of vehicles involved in crashes. motor cars and motorcycles. Monthly trend, we're in December. December has consistently been seen the highest number of crashes, and therefore contributed as well the most to fatalities and injuries. March, historically, over the last 10 years, has been the lowest. April has been the lowest. March comes after December, but April has been the lowest. Again, this is interesting. Most Easter weekends are in April. So why are the April numbers a little lower? Is it because people don't travel as much as possibly we think they do over the Easter weekend? Or what else is going on around that time? Is it holiday time, or what's going on there? I think we'll end there and ask the panel to jump in. So I'll stop sharing unless anybody wants to pick up on some particular number, then we can come back to the slides. So at this moment, I'll introduce the panel. We have, sorry, just 1 second. I'll just do, we have John Asimwe, who is joining us from Dar es Salaam, but she lives mostly and works in Uganda. She's from the Center for Policy Analysis. And they're also working on road safety issues, but working on very interesting things around policy. We have Samuel Balagadde from the New Vision, who has worked or covered road safety issues for quite a while. And then we have the commander of Traffic Police, Kampala Metropolitan Policing Area, Superintendent of Police, Rogers Kauma Nsereko. So at this point, I will stop sharing my video and lead off with a few questions. But I'll request that the panelist speaking does turn on his or her video. So let's start with December, because we are in December and it's the festive season, and we've seen that December is the most dangerous month in the year when it comes to road safety crashes. John Asimwe, what happens in December? What are those things that we see in December that make it most dangerous? And as you speak, and I request this of all the panelists to say something about what the media could be sort of highlighting. You know, Christmas is Saturday next week, and people start possibly moving this weekend. But what December, why is it this bad? Are we just undisciplined in December more than any other month? John, your initial thoughts on that, and I'd like you to pick on any other thing that that caught your fancy in the slides that I presented, so you can expand your answer. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Bernard, and thank you, Akme, for organizing this conversation. I thought that question would, Bernard, directly go to our colleague from the law enforcement, because they have an idea of what exactly happens. But well, from
he will come
else in this room, I believe, yes. I think for me, I'm not sure if we are careless in December, but I think because of so many things that happen during the festive season, most of us would be on leave. And so, I mean, a beer or two would not be bad. And because oftentimes we don't even understand the impact of the alcohol consumption and when it comes to driving. And so before we know it, both me, the driver who has taken alcohol, and the pedestrian who have also taken probably overnight, we meet on the road, and certainly the fatalities will not be avoided. And this happens probably not just in December, but because I think we have a lot more time in December to do so many things because of the Christmas and the New Year's and the celebrations. And so I think for me, it's because it's the time to unwind. It's the time to, get done with everything that was disturbing us throughout the year and increases the chance. But my colleague from the law enforcement agent would probably have a more defined reasons to give us. But from a layman's understanding, probably that would be it. And Bernard, going back to the statistics, I think it's sad. It's sad for two reasons. If these statistics were as a result of, some virus or a new disease or name it, the story could have been bigger than this. We've seen just last year when we were faced by COVID-19, almost all the newspapers had provided specific, pages or articles or information on COVID. So every day I would know if I did not see any status update from the Ministry of Health official, I would grab myself New Vision or Daily Monitor, and I will know exactly how many people have been tested positive and how many have died in like the last 24 hours. But looking at the same figures you've shared, Bernard, as it is right now, road crashes have killed more people than Corona, and yet this virus has been given more attention and more publication and more, name it. And yet, I was trying to check the information, and as of about 2-3 days ago, 2 years combined from March last year to today, almost 2 years, we have 3,269. And yet these 3,000 people are the people we lose just in 1 year by the road crashes. So clearly there's a need for me to really emphasize the aspect of how then do journalists come to play? We have all this data, we have all this information. The Uganda Police Forces publishes the annual report with all this information. The question on whether the information is, the data around road crashes is correct or not, but at least we have a starting point. Now, the onus is on the journalist and everybody of us in this room to make sure that we give the road crashes or road safety conversation the emergency that it requires, the importance that it requires, because just looking at the data you've shared, it's scary that today we still talk about road safety and road crashes, and the first thing you hear is how the pedestrians were careless on the road, how the driver didn't do that, how there's blaming, and yet there's need for us to, one, talk about it, publicize it as much as we can, and then find a solution to it. And I can tell you some of the road crashes we've seen are avoidable if we address some of the key risk factors that are around the road safety. Thank you, Bernard. I'll stop here and allow my colleagues to also join in and give in their views.
Thanks, John. Superintendent of Police Rogers, Kauma, you deal with these issues. Already you're dealing with them. December is here. Start with December and also make your initial input on any of the other statistics. But if you could also just begin by telling us, when we say Kampala metropolitan area, which area are we talking about? Because people may not be clear. Commander Kauma, please. Is he on? He was on and clear earlier. I think he's not on. Hopefully he can get back on. Mr. Kauma? All right. Samuel Balagadde, are you there? Samuel?
Bernard.
Yes. Yes, that Commander Kauma?
Yes, please.
Oh, yes. You had sort of dropped off. Right. So Jonas Simwe said, you could say you are in enforcement. So why is December so dangerous? And I was requesting that as you answer that question and touch on any of the other statistics, you could begin by telling us which area is covered by Kampala Metropolitan Police.
Oh, yes. I actually heard that part, but when I started speaking, I realized you were not hearing me.
No, okay. So go right ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, members in this room. I'm Roger.
Is it possible to have your video on so people can see?
Let me.
But if it's going to take a lot of data, then you can just speak. And now you've muted yourself.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead.
Let me speak as I figure out how to access the video.
Okay, no problem. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Now, good afternoon, members. I was saying I'm Superintendent of Police Kauma and Sereko Rogers.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Now, KMP, I will show you where it ends on the highways. On Masaka Road, KMP ends at Insanji. On Mitiana Road, it ends shortly after Bulowa. On Jinja Road, it ends at Namagunga. On Entebbe Road, it ends up to the waters. Which road have I mentioned? Where? Is there a road I've missed, a highway?
Did you mention Hoima Road?
Hoima Road, it ends at Kachiri.
Right.
At Kachiri, that's KMP area.
Right.
For the concerns of December, it is true that we registered so many crashes in December for obvious reasons. We have a lot of movement of traffic, both from upcountry to the city center and from the city center upcountry. So there's a lot of crisscrossing of traffic. And in the process, we also have public service vehicles that are in a hurry to make a quick buck. You know, this is the season when they expect to make a lot of money. Let me put it frankly. And in so doing, they intend to make so many routes to and from upcountry. So in this rushing, we register so many accidents. If it's not the taxi being rolled or a bus being rolled, it is taxis knocking pedestrians or taxis knocking other cars or motorcyclists, not mentioning also the recklessness of the motorcyclists. So it is a whole cocktail of scenarios, but it is all because of this hush to make a quick buck and also do Christmas shopping for loved ones. And also, we find that people who operate these public service vehicles, in the process of making so many routes, they get tired, they get fatigued, and they get drowsy on the steering wheel. In the process, they won't concentrate a lot and they will have to roll the buses and taxis. And unfortunately, when you get to these scenes of accidents, when you try to establish what the problem was, they won't say that I was drowsy on the steering wheel. No, they'll give all sorts of other reasons that, you know what, I was trying to dodge border, I was about to knock a certain border, an oncoming border, and then I ended up rolling that vehicle. Or maybe because it rained a bit, the vehicle failed to stop in good time and it slid and then it fell off the road. But yet actually the actual cause was fatigue and the driver was drowsy on the steering wheel. They won't mention that to you, unfortunately. And those are the categories you will find that in the statistics, they will indicate unknown causes. You get it, Bernard?
Yes, I do. I know
Yeah,
we have that is unknown causes, yes.
Most of those unknown causes are those cases where people actually are drowsy on the steering wheel, and then they roll the vehicles. Now, again, indeed, these careless pedestrians. I heard Asim was saying, there's a lot of blaming of careless pedestrians and whatever, but actually it is also so true. If you went downtown Kampala now, if you would see what is there, and it's just beginning, by the way, it's just beginning. By this weekend, I don't think you'll be able to step there this weekend. It will be such a bad scenario. So I still say that there's a lot of activity that also contributes to these numbers in December. Yeah, for now, that's what I can say. We can carry on.
So what do you do in terms of enforcement, so that December becomes just another ordinary month, but a month also where we see numbers beginning to go down, or, in the very least to stabilize, but ideally to go down?
Yeah.
What are you doing this particular December? Because I'm told you have some innovations or some, so that the people here who intend to drink and drive can know their trouble or speed.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't differ so much from what we've been doing. We of course step up on our operations. We step up on speed. We enforce speed limits. Actually, we have some new guns that are of very high technology. They record your car. They record the number plate, the time. And, we had cases of people denying the speeds they've been doing on the roads. So we got these good tech cameras. They will take your picture. They will take the number plate of your picture. They will take the time at which you are driving. And it will be very hard for the driver to say that, what, that was not my speed, because now the evidence is there. And those have been deployed on major highways. These ones exiting Kampala, Hoima Road, Ginger Road, Masaka Road. They've been deployed, Michana Road. And whoever will be caught speeding, of course, will get a ticket of 200,000 if not produced in the courts of law. And we are stepping up again on our Fika Salama checkpoints, because at those ones you have to present your driving permit. Because without it, it means you're not supposed to be on the road. You're not permitted to be on the road. So we are going to enforce on having driving permits. We want to ensure that people have zero balances on their EPS tickets. We are going to enforce that, because we also want those collections made. Drink driving, which is also one of the major causes of crashes on our roads. But unfortunately, because of COVID, that operation was halted for fear of contaminating our drivers. Because in the effort of trying to ensure road safety, again, we don't want to be the ones to be blamed for spreading COVID. So for now, that is halted, but we can also still determine by suspecting you drunk, and then we shall pull you aside. We can take you through a sobriety test to confirm that you are actually okay or not. But for special occasions, special cases, we shall subject you for a breath analyzer test to confirm that actually you are drunk, and we'll take the next step for you, because we shall not permit people to go and kill our people or kill themselves, for that matter, because of drinking. So operations are on, and they are going on, Mr. Bernard.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, SP Rogers. For those who have just joined, let me just quickly recap that this conversation is based on a study that, on a database, a data set, sorry, that we generated here at ACME based on the police's annual crime reports over 10 years. So the numbers cover the period 2011 to 2020. So pedestrians are killed the most, followed by motorcyclists. This is over the 10-year period. Men die most, almost 3/4 of the people who die in road traffic crashes are men. In terms of age, it's people anything from 5 to 35 or 40, 49, or all of those. But the peak is 25 to 34 years old, and people above 75 they die the least. Most of the lead causes are careless and reckless driving. The most dangerous hour, most crashes happen at 4 p.m., between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Obviously, more traffic rush hour, but people are tired. They've been working all day, and possibly we just heard about fatigue. Motor cars and motorcycles, the types of vehicles that contribute the most. That is over 60% of vehicles involved in road crashes are motor cars and motorcycles. And December is the worst month. I can't seem to get hold of Sam Balagade, who reconfirmed an hour ago he would be on the call. If he's on, please, Sam, make yourself heard. But back to John Asimwe. So I did say at the start that we use the word accident, but people like you who have expertise and campaigners in the area of road safety use the word crashes, that there was a crash instead of saying there was an accident. Could you explain why? Because words matter. And then I will just say that, no, sorry, I'll come to this in a second. Just first explain why that difference in terminology.
I'll be very honest. Up until I think last year, when I met someone who is, I think on this call, Jackie Okao, I also used to refer to it as road accidents. But then after reading a little more about the road safety and the crashes that have, and based on even what ASP Rogers Kauma just mentioned here, when we talk about accidents, it's something that no one is at fault here, right? But when you listen to how Afande has explained it, at the end of the day, there has to be, when a crash happens, there has to be something or someone who is involved, who has led it to, the fate or whatever that happens, to the crash that happens. Now, when we keep referring to it as an accident, it means the driver did not intend, the driver, if it's a collision, the other driver also had nothing to do with it. If it's a pedestrian or motorcyclist that has been knocked, no one had, or there was no reason behind it. But listening and following, and even what just Afande has concluded, it certainly means if it is not a mechanical condition of a vehicle, it is then the either carelessness or recklessness of the driver or even the pedestrians or the motorcyclists. So the crashes bring out the whole, first of all, gets you to start thinking about it. If it was an accident, it will just pass by. There was a border accident and you'll move on because probably they couldn't have avoided, or no one was, at fault for it. But when the word crashes comes to you, the first thing is, and this again for people in this room to start thinking about is when it's a crash, then what happened? We start asking more questions. What could have happened? Who did what? Start from even the policies in place, legislations in place, what do they provide for this aspect? But in that area or at that incident place, what could have happened? Is it because of a poor road infrastructure? Is it the mechanical condition? Is it that now the other risk factors that we talked about earlier on, drink driving, speed, no seatbelt, helmet? Is it child restraint? What was not involved in this? Now, if you're saying it's an accident, you'll just let it pass. Oh, sorry, someone died. Oh no, and it passes. But when you give it a crash, it gives you room to really start thinking what went wrong, what could have been avoided. And that's my thought, Bernard.
Brilliant. The other experts I see on the call, when I open it up, you should jump in on any of these points. So what I wanted to say when I asked you that question, I was driving from Mbarara to here, Kampala, this morning, and around, so I was, this bus, Tausi coaches, UBE411U, overtook me in a corner and, continued driving. And the driver kept just overtaking, at the moment he saw space, whether there was a corner, whether it was a spot where he couldn't see very well, but as long as there was some gap, he was just overtaking. So it was quite reckless. And those were conscious decisions that this driver was making. So if there was a head-on collision with an oncoming car, you possibly can say that was an accident when somebody was making a decision to overtake when he doesn't have a proper line of vision. Right. So the young people. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Before you get to that point, I wanted to go back to what Afande mentioned earlier on the plans that they have for this December, and wanted to share an experience that I got about 2 weeks ago. I visited Rwanda, and we went out that night because their curfew starts at midnight. So at least it gives people room to go to the bar and have fun. And so while we were there, the group of people that I was with, in the conversation, they agreed one person would take water. Until that time, I didn't really understand why that had happened. And so I asked, why isn't she drinking? Because as far as I know, she does take alcohol. And they said, you see, here in Rwanda, you are caught driving. The fines, first of all, are insane. So one of the people I was with now shares her experience of a week before that. And she was the one taking water, and said, you see, for her, when they caught her, she had to pay a fine of $250. Her car was impounded for 21 days, but also she was taken to prison for 5 days. Now, clearly, these strong measures will certainly get some senses to most of us. And so what I learned, and again, this was because we keep talking about road safety in Uganda, and hopefully we'll get to a place where people start censoring themselves. I want to drink, but I have a car to drive. What is the alternative? I drink, Bernard drives. Or and I was told now there are border cyclists in Rwanda who drives, and so they're on standby. If the whole group decides to drink, the other person will come, everybody else will leave the car where they are, and one person will make sure the sober one will drop everybody else. So again, mine is to Afande, are there possibilities that our enforcement will become very hard, so much so that people become road self-conscious, that now I'm going to drink and I shouldn't, because first, even before the repercussion, it should start with me. What do I understand about road safety? If I drink, what does that mean for me who is going to drive? But also, if that can't happen because it's a happy moment, are there possibilities of us putting strange, difficult measures that will get people to wake up and probably behave on the road? Thank you, Bernard.
Right. Commander Nzereko, make a quick response to that, then we move on to the next bit. Hello, Mr. Nzereko, you're muted.
Bernard.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now, I'm getting a report here that I cannot start my video because the host has disabled it. So you disabled my video, sir.
Okay, I'll ask our host, my colleague Claire, please enable the commander to show him, or else you might be arrested driving home because. Right, go ahead.
Well,
sir.
Yes, thank you. Now, thank you, Asimwe, for that concern. And I've had so many cases of the law, the way it is applied there in Rwanda, where you were. And indeed, I think the powers that be there, they know the importance of road safety and so many other things, because I've heard of so many other examples that people give. I've never been there, so all I know is what I hear from people who have been to Rwanda. But you know, the law as it is, we are supposed to implement as is. Although we would wish to put those stringent measures, but if it's not in the Traffic and Road Safety Act, you know, there's no way we can enforce. We would wish to employ some of those, punitive measures to curb on this indiscipline, but we cannot, because someone can challenge you. Where do you get the powers to impound my car for 21 days? Where? So we also have the limits to these fines. There's no way we can exceed the fines, the limits. So all those are challenges. But in our own small way, we manage the way we only know how, as the law requires for now. Although I was in a meeting yesterday with the Ministry of Works, and they are revising some of these fines. They want them to bite more harder. And indeed, we would wish that we also pick up and we try to put those stringent measures on our indisciplined drivers. But the law dictates otherwise. Okay. Yes, Panak.
All right, thank you. Let me, please, those who have comments, questions, put them in the chat room. We will spend about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to the end dealing with your questions and comments, so there will be plenty of time. But I want to draw attention to what CP Lawrence, Commissioner of Police Lawrence Nwabine said. Is the acting director, Traffic and Road Safety Directorate in the Uganda Police. He made a presentation on Monday, the launch of the National Road Safety Week, and one of the slides is this. It talks about challenges. Sorry, just one second. Challenges of traffic enforcement in Uganda. He lists them. Number one, and this touches on what SP Nsereko just said in his response to the question from John. Number one is political interference. This is challenges of traffic enforcement in Uganda. This is a police officer talking. It says political interference. Number two, insufficient human resources devoted to enforcement. Number three, insufficient technology and equipment to conduct breath testing. That's the breathalyzer, and speed enforcement. Insufficient technology we had from Commander Nsereko about the new speed guns, but they're just few. Number four is operations often are focused on apprehension rather than deterrence. Apprehension, that's arresting, rather than deterrence. Number five, corruption is endemic in some places, leading to widespread punishment avoidance. And I think this is part of this corruption. You could throw in the Gambano phenomenon as well, so which leads to widespread avoidance of punishment. People escape punishment by peddling influence. Number 6 is difficult to achieve widespread general deterrence. So the difficulty, I think, partly because enforcement, which is his last point, is often held in low regard. So you have those issues there, and any of you can pick on any of them. But then the PES at the same event said this: the ministry, that's the Ministry of Works and Transport, is committed to pursuing sustainable funding for road safety investment and interventions. We shall not get tired. We shall keep advocating for more funding, which should be, and this is the key point, which should be at least 10% of the funds allocated to road construction and maintenance. At least 10% of the money going to road construction and maintenance should be reserved for road safety investment and interventions. Then he concludes by saying, with funding, we shall be able to improve the road safety situation in the country. John Asima, what do you say to that?
Thanks, Bernard. I think the very first one, he was correct. We've seen a number of interventions being proposed and not really getting us anywhere because of the political interference. I'm sure most of us remember last year when we were getting close to the end of the lockdown, KCCA, the minister came together with the Ministry of Works. They had a brilliant proposal. Hey, I am on mute. Host muted me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You're unmuted.
Hey, so I was saying, yes, the political interference aspect of it, I do agree with it. I remember last year when we were coming close to the lockdown, KCCA and the Ministry of Works had amazing proposals on how, we should operate in the city where the border motorcyclist would stop and stuff. But because of the so many reasons known to almost all of us, it was, towards the general elections, some of these things we couldn't see them happening. Now, I don't know if you also remember one time, I think the president was referring to road safety issues, and he actually referred to the aspect of pedestrians being the highest victims of road crashes, and said, "Anti abo batamivu." Now, if we are at that level of thinking that the pedestrians who are being on the knocked down or involved in the road crashes are the drunkards, then chances of us coming up with the road safety measures that will really, really help the people and address this matter that is the new pandemic, I would say. Road safety crashes are the new pandemic that every country has to face. I think we will still have a challenge in terms of going forward and how to address the road safety aspect. So yes, political interference, and also the aspect of even us, the citizens, we do not understand what this means. And partly because Bernard and the group of journalists also have a responsibility to make my internet has no problem. One, because we don't really get to understand how bad the situation is when it comes to road safety and road crashes. You find a few group of people, Makere School of Public Health, would have all this brilliant information, but how many people get to know what exactly the problem is? So I think there's a lot that needs to be done, and I've seen some of the comments in the chat talking about the awareness. I think there's a lot of work to be done. And in terms of political interference, still, if we keep writing, if we keep bringing out the road safety issues and attaching them to the human value, start connecting the road safety articles and stories, touching everyone's life. Bring it to how it is going to be difficult for us to, one, attain the 2030 development goals if we are losing people every now and then. the economic aspect of it, journalists being able to get the data that they get and then putting out stories that speak to everybody's life and everyday life, I think it would make more sense. Bernard, from the report that ACME has just shared, you've talked about men being the most victims. What does that mean for our economy, for instance? What does that mean for every aspect of our lives? Education, if the father has died, what will happen to the 7 children that this father has? What will happen to health, for instance? With the figures that you've given us, what does that mean for our health sector to begin with? So again, for me, I think we have a challenge, and the challenge on our side is how then do we tell the stories in a way that touches everyone? Like let's move away from saying it's December. Mabira Forest is one of the areas that have so many stories of road crashes. Then we go and write a story and say just a taxi for 14-seater was hit by this truck, 7 out of 14 have died, and we stop there. Let's start bringing out what this means. What do the 7 mean to the economy of this country, to the families, to the community, to the society? Then I guess we will start waking up and really seeing that the impact of road safety is as bad as any other thing we can think of.
You want to respond to?
Yours.
Sorry?
No, I said the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm about to open that floor to the people who are on here, so we don't just talk to ourselves, as it were. Let me say something here, and then I'll ask SP Nsereko to respond, then I open up. Minister of Works and Transport, Wamala, on Monday said, again, about December, but what he said applies generally, every day as we hit the road as road users. Says, I am aware many will be traveling to and from their upcountry homes during the festive season. Let us, 1, plan our journeys. I suppose planning the journey means if we must leave early, think about the road you're going to use, etc., etc. Number 2, ensure that vehicle is in proper mechanical condition. 3, drive at the appropriate speed. 4, avoid wrongful overtaking. Remember my bus, my Tausi coaches bus, UBE 411U. Be courteous to all road users. That one. Be courteous to road users. How many of us have given way? Somebody's trying to join the main road, and you become kind enough, you allow them to go, and they don't even, make eye contact and give you a smile or a little wave. They just go on, Others won't give way when they should. Number 6, respect traffic rules and regulations, traffic signs, of course, if they're not stolen, signals and road markings. And if the road markings are not faded. And number 7, exercise highest discipline while on the road. SP Nsereko, please say something. You're muted, sir.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm saying the general was right about that. I will give you an example. If I plan to go to the village, my village is here in Buyikwe, but I'm a traffic officer, but I think the one person who hates traffic jam to the dot. Me, I don't like to be stuck in jam. Now, because I know Ginger Road is always jammed most times, me, if I'm to visit the village, I leave early. Like, let me tell you, I hit the road at around 5 in the morning just to go here in Buyikwe because of that traffic jam along Ginger Road. Banda, Boyogerere, Mukono. There's a lot of jam there. So if anyone wants to plan their journey well and to avoid all these issues of wanting to overtake unnecessarily, I think the general was right when he said you plan your journey. Plan your journey so that you move comfortably. If you're caught late and you're stuck in a jam, please hang in there. Hang in the jam until when you move and you sail through. Otherwise, if you try to now rush to catch some other appointment the other side, you may not reach. Yeah, you may not reach. You might kill other people. You might kill yourself in the process. So that was right. Another issue he mentioned was you mentioned 4, and and that one caught my eye. Bernard, can you come with the other 3?
Of what the minister said?
Yes.
Sure. So it says, let's plan our journeys, ensure that our vehicles are in mechanical conditions, drive at the appropriate speed, avoid wrongful overtaking, be courteous. Yeah.
Vehicle condition is one of the causes of road traffic crashes because most people don't service their vehicles. They don't repair their vehicles. And most times they even know that, you know what, my vehicle doesn't brake properly. But then they will still continue driving their vehicles in that condition, which is very, very risky. Because if a vehicle has given you a warning that, you know what, this braking system is not right, why don't you go and correct it? Why do you insist on driving such a vehicle? Because it is going to give way. You have been driving the vehicle in that manner for, say, the past 1 month, yeah. But if that 1 month ends, maybe this other one won't stand that condition. It will let loose, and then you will have to roll the vehicle. Yeah. So all these conditions really need to be looked into before you set up for the journey. And then speed. Do we need to sing this song over and over again? I still wonder why people don't take speed as an issue. Because our roads here in Uganda are not designed for high speed. There are roads in some countries which take speed for 200 kilometers an hour. Those roads are there in some parts of this world. But Uganda roads are not designed for these kinds of speeds. So speed is a major issue in road crashes, because if you're driving very, very fast, it is very hard for you. The reaction time on when you see that obstacle and then you try to avoid hitting it is in a fraction of a second. You get it? So it's important that you drive in comfortable speeds, because even if you crash, the impact won't be as much as when you are driving very fast. You know, that force, it will be reduced by so much, and maybe you can survive. That is if you also enforce on the use of the seat belts, because again, here in Uganda, people don't like using seat belts. I don't know why, and yet they save lots of lives. But if you use the seat belt properly and then you also drive at comfortable speeds, you are most likely to survive in case of a crash than when you don't use a seatbelt and then you also drive very fast. So we need to minimize on the speeds, Bernard.
Yeah, speed merchants.
Subaru drivers.
All right, let me open this up to comments from other people on who are attending this conversation. But I'll start with what is in the chat room, and then I will later ask those who want to speak. You raise your hand, and then you'll be called upon. For now, let me just read through this, and then we'll get responses before we get to people who actually want to speak in their own voices. David Anyanzo says, in most cases, what I see from riders and drivers is lack of concentration on the engine. maybe on the road. Secondly, undermining other road users. They think they own the road when they are driving and riding. Thirdly, even the pedestrians sometimes cause these accidents because they don't want to leave the road for cars and bikes to pass. And I think we're not here. Roads are for who? The road should be for who? Yeah? I think let's just note that, because I think that's an interesting one. There need to be awareness by traffic officers, especially on road safety signs. In most cases, road users are not sensitized on those road signs. And yes, sometimes we do the wrong thing because we're ignorant, because we didn't go to driving school, or because there's no curriculum that driving schools can use. David has a lot to say. The other thing is the traffic officers. They only mind about money, not the lives of the people. I thought they are on the road to safeguard the lives of the road users. Secondly, some districts have limited numbers of traffic officers, using these other boys only stand by the roadside to eat money, nothing else. What do you expect from them? Anyanzo says from Ajumani, certainly speaking to corruption and human resource, I think, limitations in traffic police. And Dama says there is also need to educate drivers on the lives of people. Some drivers just learn vehicles from their homes, learn how to drive vehicles from their homes or colleagues without undergoing training, causing them to mess up. I'm assuming that the SP in Sereko and John Asimwe and anybody else are taking some of these, and they will respond as they see fit. David Anyanzo from Adjumani says, finally, in my district, Adjumani, we have these stubborn border riders who don't know road signs. They ride recklessly, not minding about their own lives. I'm requesting the traffic police officers to call for a one-day full training on the usage of road signage. Even the small cars that are used for businesses, they're also culprits. He says, Mebo Tomsange says, this season is also greatly affected by very poor planning for travel. Our journey plans are poor or non-existent. We don't keep time as a result of poor journey plans. Our preparedness for travel is bad in the season. I wish we could grasp basics of time management. We want to travel at last minute, and thus we rush and end in crashes. David Anyanzo again says, I also see our roads are not tarmacked like upcountry. Most roads are not tarmacked. It could possibly be the reason for rampant road crashes. Regina Lalam says, corruption by traffic officers who sometimes pick money in tons. So they care about money more than lives. And they also don't care about overloading. Jill from Freedom House says, what do you do if the misusers of the roads are the so-called VVIPs who think they have the right to disregard traffic rules and regulations and drive however they want? What will it take for our leaders to lead by example and just have some simple good road manners? David Anyanzo, Madam John, I love that explanation. Afande answer the Madam, but I see in Uganda, some people think they own Uganda. I think we can imitate what is in Rwanda. I think that was responded to already. Joseph Odama, there's too much ignorance on the road. Traffic office is not sensitizing the public. I think the question of sensitization, awareness creating is really important. Joseph Odama, in case of Arua, majority of the drivers and border riders have never gone to formal training school. Still the same issue of training. Most of them are car washers. Whatever wants me. I'm just reading stuff. You want to see me read? All right. Odama says most of the Border riders are car washers in the bays and think they know how to drive. And indeed, they know how to operate the machines. But observing road safety precautions is zero. It's interesting. Hi, everyone. This is Farida Kuruma. Glad to be. Generally, I think police has not done enough to transparently enforce illegal drivers and riders. Sensitization is not there, a reason people are ignorant. Jill says again, with all due respect, we have seen failure by the law enforcement agents in enforcing the existing laws and regulations as they are. What guarantees do we have that police will enforce the most stringent laws if passed? Let us have evidence of law enforcement agents implementing even the weak existing laws now, and their commitment to advocate for the amendment of the existing ones to make them more punitive. Seems it's just a few people who are commenting. Others, please do comment as well. In some cities and towns, the pavement is meant for pedestrians. This is Lalam, but they're being used by business people for putting displays. Selling fruits, selling all sorts of things. So they leave pedestrians with no option, hence traffic congestion. There's too much lawlessness on the road despite traffic. Susan Nanjala says, I concur with what Madam John explained earlier. If only those kinds of rules and regulations are exhibited in our country, a lot more would have changed. I think this is reference to Uganda. Robert Larubi says, not ASP, SP. Robert, you should know better, because you were in class the other day when SP Kauma was talking. SP Kauma, don't you think the speed guns are just street idols meant to scare drivers in the earlier journey? Because when they bypass the set area, they will definitely revert the high speed. In other words, they see the speed guns, or they know where the police are stationed, they reduce speed. The moment they pass that area, they fire 120, 160. So corruption, enforcement, and stuff. Bernard Thabiti says on the data, one, Uganda police force should modernize and regularly update its data collection tools. I need to say that Bernard Thabiti is a data man. He collects it, he processes it, and visualizes it. So he's saying, number one, Uganda police force should modernize and regularly update its data collection tools. Two, publish their metadata and a metadata dictionary and a compendium of indicator definitions rather than simply putting them as glossary at the beginning or end of the voluminous annual report. Number three, publish the raw data in an open data format, e.g. Excel or CSV or JSON, so that the data analysts can find it easier to conduct independent analysis. Number four, disaggregate the data further, possibly below district level and even further than that, given that we have the parish model now. Number five, make access to the raw data by interested researchers and analysts easier. So make the data easy. Number six, which is this last one, also stop including unnecessary indicators, questions on their data collection, on your data collection tools, such as suspects, tribe, and religion. Not sure what the reason for this is. In August, actually, I had a small traffic issue caused by a family member, and I went as well, in solidarity to make a statement. They asked me my tribe, and I refused to say it. They didn't ask religion. I think once I said no to tribe, they didn't bother with religion. Mebo Tomsange, again, our data or research findings need to be broken down for Muntu Wansi to understand clearly. Our data is not disaggregated. What happened to our routine reports of road crashes done by police to help drumming up the issue, just like the COVID statistics. Can we shout out stats? Can we shout out stats? This is okay. Technopop from, I think it's from Gulu. I don't know how true this, but says this is about maybe distracted driving. You know, like you're driving texting, you're WhatsApping, you're making calls. Anyways, he or she says drivers over admire beautiful pedestrians while driving in Gulu city. I guess what is true of Gulu might be true of other cities, towns, and municipalities. Milton Akwam says, weeks ago, I interacted with a driver and he told me there's too much to be done when it comes to enforcement. He was very honest and revealed crashes are rampant because traffic police ask for soda when they're breaking traffic rules, like not putting seatbelts. In other words, when other people are breaking traffic rules, like they're not wearing seatbelts, they're talking on the phone while driving. To me, it should be action, not talking, often by traffic officers and managers. Johnny Sano Chakachon says, are there any policies in regards to road users that tend to prevent persons with disabilities? And who is this being enforced by? Okay, PWDs as road users. This is especially the blind, the deaf, and others with physical disabilities. Member Tomsang again, can we plan for our younger ones to be better drivers and better road users? We need a school curriculum for road safety. I think one civil society organization has tried to do that, but I think they still need to do more work. There's an allegation that revenue targets, i.e. express penalties given to traffic police officers at roadblocks is fueling corruption. So through express penalties, the police should raise a certain amount of money. Says that's fueling corruption. Badru Katumba says, I think traffic police can't handle Ugandans on the road. We need a private manager like Multiplex to do the donkey work and just get help from police. Oh, there you go. So let's have the panelists have a go at that, and then we get that. And anybody else who is on the line and you want to speak, you can respond to any of those issues. I know some experts who are on, I think Irene Namiga from KCCA, Jackie Okao, and many others. Please respond to any of these issues because it's a conversation. So let's start with John and then go to SP Kauma. Respond to any of the issues that tickle on your fancy as it were. Thanks.
Thank you, Bernard, and thank you everyone for the comments, questions, suggestions. Mine, I'll probably start from the aspect of our policies and legislations in place. I was actually just looking at the most recent, the Traffic and Road Safety Act, and specifically on driving with blood alcohol concentration above the prescribed limit. A person who drives or attempts to drive a motor vehicle, trailer, or engineering plant on a road or other public place, having consumed alcohol in such quantity that a proportion of the alcohol in his or her blood or breath, as ascertained from a laboratory test, for which he or she subsequently provides a specimen under section 113, or a breath analyzer test exceeds the prescribed limits at the time he or she provides the specimen, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 300 currency point or imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both. And this also aspect gives the responsibility to the two institutions. The police in uniform may, in a manner prescribed by the regulations, impound the vehicle of a person who contravenes this section. And then 3, for purposes of this act, prescribed limit means such proportion of alcohol in such proportion of blood as the minister may, by the regulations prescribed. What does this tell us? that our law is not as weak as we probably imagine or think. It actually provides for what is required to be done. But I don't know, Afande, what you will tell. what in terms of implementation, where are we not doing right? Maybe that I will leave it for you too. But again, by and large, our law is not as weak, and that would be my take today. But we just need to understand two things. We just need to understand two things. But when it comes to road safety aspect, first, as individuals, we have a responsibility to play. Before we wait for law enforcement officers to come and first test whether we are drunk, or to check whether our our vehicles are correct on the road, or to just make sure that our seatbelt, we have a responsibility as citizens of Uganda. Now, if we start from that point, what the law provides for and what the officers do or do not do will probably not even be there if we're also responsible enough. But on the issue of, and this takes me to what one of the participants in here today mentioned, that there's need for awareness creation. This I agree with. I remember the times, and Bernard, this not to mean that I'm too old, but I remember our times at school, we used to have traffic officers come to school and tell us exactly what road safety means when we are crossing roads, what we should do. I remember vividly, like I was told yesterday, look left, look right before you cross. But that we don't see it anymore. So whose responsibility is it? Is it the Ministry of Education? Is it the law enforcement officers? And if yes, there are different stakeholders involved, what can we then do to make sure that we get to a point where everyone plays their role? The unfortunate bit, and I will not take the role of Afande this afternoon, the unfortunate bit is that when it comes to road safety and traffic aspect, the very first person we think about is the man or woman in uniform. And until recently, the one in white uniform. Whether there's no ambulance at a road crash scene, whether the citizens are not aware, whether the mechanic has issues, whether the drivers are not actually capable of driving or what, the police unfortunately take the responsibility. But that said, how then do we, all of us in this room, specifically the journalists, help the police? Hey, sorry. I don't know if it's my internet, Engineer Irene, but let me make sure I am audible enough. So how then do we, all of us in this room, and specifically the civil society and the journalists, help the police? First, understand the nitty-gritties, the issues that are involved, and how actually, recently, I think that was last year, we were told about 4Es, the enforcement of the whole road safety aspect. The police has the engineer, I think the enforcement. Engineering is with works, emergencies with Ministry of Health, but oftentimes we don't even know that if an emergency happens, if a road crash has happened, all these people have, and then the education aspect is with the Ministry of Education. So for me, I think the take home is how then can we help as journalists write in a way that brings all the key stakeholders in one room and take their responsibility. What will it take for our leaders to lead by example? Jill, my twin sister, I can't wait for that to happen as well. Today, actually, it's our consortium that includes ACME, SEPA, Ureno, and Hovita, and Safeway Rightway. Last week, we're able to have a motion presented by the chairperson of Road Safety Forum, Parliamentary Road Safety Forum. And today, Parliament, this afternoon, Parliament was debating the motion. And I can tell you for the fact that just listening to MPs talking, making their contribution during the debate on road safety, the first thing that hit me was they need information. And so if they need information as our leaders, I think we also need to have to start somewhere. let's write as much as we can. Let's engage them as much as we can so that they get to understand their responsibility, and hopefully they will lead by example. Going back to my brother Sabiti, happy to have you here. In terms of the data from police, when I tried to really read and understand and engage on road safety aspect, even with the queries of how come the data from police is not sufficient, how come Mulago has different, how come the World Health Organization has different, it just hit me that it just have to be like a deliberate move by the key stakeholders involved in this aspect, and rightly, like you put it, to come up with different or modernized kind of collecting this data. I'll give an example. If someone is knocked down at, say, Mulago roundabout and is taken to police, to the hospital, and after 2-3 days in the casualty, the person seems to be improving, the person is picked and the person goes back home. Now, because probably the leg is broken or something, they can no longer sustain themselves economically, the person decides to go back in Buikwe, where the person comes from. And unfortunately, because of lack of care and everything else, the person passes on. The police data and the Mulago data will stop there, that the person was among probably the fatalities, or like the person will not be recorded as the casualties, something like that. It's not death recorded. But at the end of the day, truth of the matter is this person died in Buikwe as a result of the road crash that he was involved in. So you see, there has to be either the deliberate move to like really follow up on people and find out whether they survived or how bad the situation is. But oftentimes what happens for police, probably they will take what has happened at the scene, then the Ministry of Health will pick it up from there. But as far as the person is discharged, they would never know what happened to that person. So again, I agree with the proposals that you've given therein, and I hope Afande will be able to take them on. And eventually we really get to see if it's 3,000 people dying every year, is it actually 3,000, or there's actually more to it that we don't know? And can we be deliberate in terms of getting this information out there and make sure that what the data we put will probably push the government to act better? I think that's about it from me.
Right, thanks, John. Much appreciated. SP and Sereko, please respond to some of those issues, not all of them, just a few that you think are worth responding to. Not that the others are not worth, but are more critical. And then Sam Balagadi has joined, and we will sort of pivot back to what John was talking about, the role of the media, of journalists. And I want to put on notice journalists like Ben Onoluka and my colleague Peter Mesige and a few others to say something about how media can make road safety an issue worth serious coverage in the media. SP Nsereko, please. And you unmute yourself. Your audio is muted.
Yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. I wish to thank Asimwe for being thorough in her assessment. And of course, we know that we are not appreciated a lot as officers on road, but we are doing a great job, and I think those who appreciate do, and we are used to that kind of negative attitude towards us, but we know that we are doing what we can, the only way we know how. Now, road signs, road safety signs, yes, It is true that there's a lot of ignorance in as far as road safety signs are concerned, the way people interpret them, but it all goes back on how they learn to drive and ride, because most of these signs are taught in these driving schools, but most people self-teach themselves how to drive, and then they because they did go to the driving schools, they miss most of these lessons. Now, on corruption, it is again true that traffic officers do pick money on the road. But when we get to know about these cases, we take action against these officers. There are so many traffic officers that have been reverted from traffic and put in general duties for cases of corruption. But again, you should also know that most times it is you, the drivers, who initiate the process of corruption. If a traffic officer gets you on road and he wants to proceed with you to the police station, why do you, midway, pull out your wallet and start pulling out money and trying to tempt our traffic officers? It takes two to tango, they say. You, the giver, and the receiver are all taken on in the corruption law. So please stop saying, oh, traffic officers are there on the road. Please allow a traffic officer to take you to the station and take action against you. Don't give them money. Because I don't believe they pull the money from your pockets. It is you who does this, and then you issue the money, which is wrong. Now, to think that for you to behave on the road, a police officer has to be there to enforce you to be, in line with the law. It is laughable. For a mature person to think that you are going to be policed like a baby in a home. Oh, please don't reach there. Oh, please don't touch that. Oh, please don't do that. It is laughable. Because at the end of the day, it's not the police officer who's going to die. It is you. It is you. If I have a gun for speed, and you know that I'm enforcing speed there, and then you slow down the moment you pass the checkpoint, you zoom the way you want, and then at the end of the day you die, it will be totally up to you. So if you think that we are going to dot police officers along the way, first of all, we don't have that manpower. We don't have that manpower to do that. We shall not be at every point along the way that we want Ugandans to be. No, that can't happen. It is your behavior that will matter. If you want to roll the vehicles, you roll them. We shall come and pick you up, and we shall ferry you to where the day to go. So please, let's go back to being responsible on road and stop blaming each and everything on police. Oh, police is not doing what? Usage of road sign and poor planning of tracks. Some of these things, some of them, as Simwe had mentioned, then VIPs on roads. These days, it is such a big issue. It has come out a lot, and we have raised this issue with the Minister of Works and Transport about government vehicles that are involved in this kind of lawlessness. Yeah, they keep right, they don't keep in the queue, they bulldoze off everyone on the road, and it is becoming a norm today. And we took it up with the minister, and I think at a higher level, they are going to address this problem because now it is becoming too much. Then on the roads again, someone mentioned about pavements being used for business. These people who put onions and tomatoes on the roads. Again, that is not a police issue, it is a planning issue. KCCA should come on board to try to enforce and chase away these people who misuse our roads. Because at the end of the day, the pavement is not used by the pedestrians. They end up again going back in the traffic. They compete with the vehicles, border borders, and themselves in the road, and then the congestion is also multiplied. Data collection tools to be improved. I think we shall need ideas from you, the member who raised this issue. Our data officer is called Madame Bettina Nalugo. Please come on board and suggest ways in which we can improve our data collection. But as far as we know, our data is according to what is reported at police stations. Some of these accidents are not actually reported at police, so they're not captured. Yeah, they're not captured. But those that are captured are the ones that are compiled. I think I'm clear there. And then I think where you mentioned about, again, on data, you did mention that, an accident will happen and then police will enter that case. And then also Mulago will enter the case. But what we do, we monitor our victims of accidents. We follow up with the hospital and we see the status of the victims, because I'll still consult the act. Then after some time, dies of his injuries at home. But there's a certain period in which it can be considered a fatal, a death resulting from an accident incurred earlier. So I'm yet to confirm the period of time, because it has a specific time given, in which if that person dies within that period, even if they are discharged, it will be considered as a result of a death incurred because of the other previous accidents. I think that is what I can mention about right now. Yep.
Thank you very much, SP Nsereko. Samuel Balagade, you joined us a bit late. The media, Jonas has said some things, SP Nsereko said some things. We have 20 minutes and we're going to finish bang on time. So very quickly, share some thoughts on what you think the media could do to make road traffic crashes an issue. The ministry says they need about 10% of the money that goes to constructing roads to be reserved for road safety. So how do we report in such a way that this is an issue that leads to policy response and policy action, for example, by increase in the budget for road safety? Samuel Balagade, please.
I'm starting with apologies. I couldn't make it in time just because of the technology. I don't know whether I'm audible enough.
But, yeah, we can hear you, Samuel.
Yeah, I first of all want to thank the previous police officer in regards to what he has been informed.
Well, if you can turn on your video, but if it's going to make the reception poor, then you can turn it off. But turn it on, please, and then continue.
I turned on the video. Okay, so now I just want to thank the police officer who has been a bit open about the current state of insanity on the road. However, road safety related issues at times turn out to be emotional. Much as he has said, some police officers who have been just caught up just collecting money from the members of the public have been reverted to other departments. Now, where they were sent, at times we find themselves coming back. Now, my idea, my suggestion is that let the traffic police be independent. Let all traffic-related matters be handled by professional traffic police officers. Otherwise, we are still facing mess on the road, because every police, every security agent, every whatever wants to be just involved in traffic-related issues. Now, when you are a bit observant, now when you look at the number of vehicles, the number of border that have been just impounded for abusing the curfew, SOPs, and whatever. So, whoever the intention is just all about just grabbing money. Yet, if at all the work was just left to the police officers who are professional enough.
Samuel, sorry to interject. Could you just focus a little more on what the media could do, or what the media are doing? Because a lot of these issues have been touched on. Please, I would appreciate that.
No. For us as the media, our major concentration would be just alerting the members of public how they should fight for their rights. Am I audible enough?
Yeah, yes, you are. Continue, explain that point some more.
Yeah, because now when you look at the current trend, where the traffic police is now battling with the taxis, with the borders. Now, one might think that some of them are hardcore criminals. Now, there is a scenario at a police station where a taxi was shot at by a patrol, where two people were injured. The case has never been reported anywhere, just because the driver was supposed to be in the wrong. He didn't just go anywhere. So now they are just there nursing wounds. Now, how can you just let somebody, a professional police officer, shoot at a taxi that is well marked with checked bands? Now, the issue here that I'm just coming to just drive at is just empowering road users, empowering motorists to know their rights. Much as they might be in the wrong, they have where to go and report such cases.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, Samuel. Could I invite somebody had put up his hand? I don't see the hand. The hand is down. Right. Aaron and Nomksha, unmute yourself and make your question or comment and make it short and precise. After Aaron, Daniel Mwangi.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I must say that it is timely. I'm Aaron Ayonomujisha. I'm the CEO Rise News Uganda.
Aaron, if it's okay, you can turn on your video and then you can turn it off after you speak. Thank you.
I think it will affect my network. So if you allow me, let me proceed with the audio.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So I run Rise News Uganda, and I'm the founder Rise Against Poverty organization of Uganda in Banana. So briefly, I think what the media should do as journalists, we should first of all understand that the public is buying vehicles. People are buying cars, people are buying motorcycles, especially cars. Of course, we cannot rule out the fact that we also have pedestrians. So I call upon my colleagues to give enough time and space to specialists and authorities, so that those who have that gigantic knowledge about traffic, then road using and that area, can sensitize the public. Besides the rest of the work we do, reporting stories and what have you, bring them on air for talk shows, then writing articles in papers, and enough space, then time to those authorities and specialists. I'm very optimistic that it is a very, very big contribution towards road safety in Uganda.
Thank you, Aaron. Daniel Mwangi, please.
Road traffic is a very, very big problem now, but I think the media should be in position to basically sensitize people about the road accidents, and through different platforms, through online media, through different channels. Because if the media does not do that, then there are going to be a lot of accidents, and it's going to be a very, very, very big problem. If we don't do that, then road accidents are going to increase. Equally, the media should also be taught how to handle the road signs, so that they could be able to disseminate this information to the different people. They'll be in position to learn some of this. I'm sorry that I used my friend's phone. I'm Otai James from Orange Online. And just because my phone had a battery on, off, but the records can be made sure. But the topic is very, very conducive. And I'm just praying that we have a bigger interaction to enhance the media attention about that. Equally, the media should also be funded. If they could fund the media they should put money into training and be able to enhance proper dissemination of information. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Bernard, before I go off, Bernard, one last one before I go off.
Please.
How do we make better use of local government structures, especially along highways, to combat this irresponsible road usage by stakeholders, but also alert road users about dangerous road spots within and keep the advocacy, for responsible road usage along the main highways? How do we take advantage of this? Because they're already on the ground, and we could, they could help police in combating this. Thank you.
Right, brilliant. I think there's beyond just doing the usual normal stories, hard news, investigative. I think there's also a place for some provision of just information, like on roadside, content shouldn't be stolen. All right, I think there are some people who have their hands up, but they have already made their comments. Herbert Benon Oluka, are you on? Please say something, and then especially Irene Namuiga, KCCA road safety engineer, if you're still on, you have some strong views about what the media could be doing. Benon and then Irene, or Irene, if you're ready. Irene, you're there. Go, then Herbert can come in.
Thank you, Bernard. Good evening, everyone. Apologies, my audio was on and off most of the time, so I kept restarting the call. However, I believe the media has a big role to play. Oftentimes, we find that no matter how good the things we do, our public never gets to know or is never fully aware of how good these initiatives are. And this information can only go out widely through the media. For example, we may talk about allowing for free space or free time space on televisions during prime time. That would really go along because you're sure of the viewership. Also having maybe free slots, maybe on a monthly basis, where we could really speak road safety, and not necessarily to blame or criticize the police or KCCA or the ministry, but basically to educate. I think if we started the education or campaign through the media, maybe we'll go a long way. Like, for example, I know there's a Toto magazine in the newspapers. I'm not certain who sponsors it, but if we did something like that, say on a monthly basis or bi-weekly, and we are teaching, basically, we can teach by police or KCCA or ministry, or even civil society organizations, and we're dedicated to doing that. I think would go miles ahead, and then people begin to appreciate, one, the initiatives that we're doing, secondly, to appreciate that there's actually a real danger in some of these things we talk about, like reckless driving, careless driving, overspeeding, drunk driving, and you find that people begin to join in. I'm not certain, I know journalists in Bukedde, but I think if we now started to speak our local languages in whatever we are teaching, we probably will have more people understanding us. Maybe I'm a Muganda, but someone could be a Mnyankole, another could be a Mchiga, another could be a Mtoro, another could be an Alur, and we need to put this information out in the languages that are understood. Now, I'm not saying that we do that in Bukedde or New Vision, but even in the newspapers that are up country, people are coming from up country and they don't know the initiatives, or they've never seen any of these initiatives that we are doing. For example, signals. People haven't seen signals. Someone who's not come to Kampala and has not gone out of Uganda may not have seen these traffic signals. And we need to cater for all this information. And how do we do that? Through our media. I believe that whereas we're doing these things, the media is right now, or in this decade, is going to be our biggest stakeholder, our biggest I've forgotten the word, but partner.
Irene, when you said decade, you're making reference to something specific. Would you just say which decade this is in terms of road safety?
In terms of road safety, we are in the second decade of road safety by the UN, and it is the decade of 2020 to 2030. A decade basically means 10 years, so we'll take it as 2021 to 2030. So if we're having that decade, we've launched the road safety strategy as KCCA, and it's for the decade of 10 years. And if you read it carefully, we specify how we can all as stakeholders really go around this road safety problem. Now, this decade that we are in right now is a decade of having traffic injuries, having fatalities from traffic crashes, and making sure that we have our roads much safer. We're having safe streets. We are having streets that are usable by both the 8-year-old and the 80-year-old. If I say that, I think you understand, I mean the children and the elderly. This business of saying our elderly cannot walk on our streets is wrong. They should be able to walk comfortably and feeling safe, whether they're blind, whether they're lame, whether they're deaf. We should have improved our technology on the roads to the point that it can cater for the 8-year-old and the 80-year-old. I'll not go into detail because I don't think it was my turn to speak, but yes, the media is going to be our biggest partner in this decade. Thank you.
Absolutely. There are quite a number of media people on the conversations they're listening. So let me just run through the last comments, and then I'll have the panelists give one final word very, very quickly. Immaculate Amonyi says, some pedestrian road users are arrogant, whereas some drivers have completely no idea what road signs mean. Just yesterday, some border rider almost smashed my legs on a zebra crossing, and he had the nerve to stop and quarrel. Richard Mutoigo says, I think a motion urging government to strengthen efforts for promoting road safety in the country should be brought before the parliament. By the way, there was a resolution the other day to this effect. Things like reduction of the speed limit from 50 kilometers to 30 kilometers within the urban centers as a measure to curb road carnage should be considered. The blood alcohol content should be used to examine the percentage of alcohol in a person's bloodstream, and a reduction would mean nipping cases of drink driving in the bud. Thanks, I'm Twego Richard, bye-bye, FM in Ginger. Joseph Odama, accessing information from traffic officers is one of the most difficult departments to deal with in UPF. The officers there are very suspicious of journalists, even if they are in the right position to speak to the press. Maybe it is because there are some fishy things happening in that office. John Bosco Seru says, Kampala Masaka Highway, particularly Lukaya Town Council, Kalungu District, where I reside, have a problem of open gutters and pavements that were built aside, yet the road is busy with heavy trucks, so it is not suitable for the pedestrians and motorcyclists who are always involved in accidents. Aaron Anomisha, who had spoken earlier, road safety is very important. Many people are currently buying vehicles. As media journalists, we should also give enough space and time to specialists and authorities to sensitize the public. Immaculate Amonyi again, I think the media can as well do more on the awareness creation as far as road safety signs is concerned, because many at times we only write when a crash happens, how many casualties and so on, forgetting that we can do more than that. Mebo Tomsang, is it possible to have regular talks like this with key stakeholders and have actions for reporting in the next? Yeah, we are listening. Due to time, let me write here. This is David Anyanzo again. I think creating awareness is key to the public, but we shouldn't forget that type of people we are talking to. I think the media and police must work together, hand in hand, to sensitize the public. Media houses like radio stations where there are no TV stations should have, so in places where there are no TV stations, should have police officers have free airtime to talk about road safety, rules and regulations, so that the people will be educated. I think SP Seriko, this is a matter you can follow up on. by talking to the ICT ministry and media houses. I think this is possible, and possibly ACME and other actors can also be of use. Also, such segments on radio, that is on road safety talks, on radio, TV, newspapers, are always sponsored by private companies, especially fuel companies. The client controls the content. Government should buy some time if possible. Then on Oluka, Ugandans need more lessons on how to use expressways because they are new to us. Yeah, true. That education needs to come from both the police and the media. And I think Benon have had the people who are going to run the road toll, part of their TOT. It requires that they educate people on, for example, things as basic as which is the driving lane and which is the passing lane. There's a, in my opinion, Kavuyo on that road, the Entebbe Expressway, for example. Benon Oluka again says, secondly, we need to sensitize the public about insurance because they offer opportunity for remedies, and yet ignorance means we don't take advantage of them, and insurers are also taking advantage of the ignorance of these policies. But I think there will be a story soon on this particular issue because somebody is following up on 500 cases that are in limbo on this issue. But again, yeah, people are ignorant when they're involved in crashes, how they can get compensation. Right, we are out of time, so I'll have John Asimwe go first, some quick final thoughts, then Samuel Balagade and SP Sereko will speak last, and then very finally, if somebody I'm looking for on the call may have sneaked off. But yeah, John Asimwe, please go ahead.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, everyone, for being very interesting participants. I look forward to more engagements organized by ACME. One last thing probably for my side is that truth of the matter is oftentimes journalists keep saying that apart from the road crashes, the topic is not perceived as newsworthy, and that sometimes reporters lack ideas for like story angles. I'll start from the aspect of information, and I think my brother Rogers, ASP Rogers, would be able to support journalists, because the only way, like Irene has said, we will be able to achieve what we've set out to achieve in this decade of road safety up to 2030 is if we have information and if all the partners are on board, including the journalists. And so I hope all the key stakeholders in the road safety aspect will be able to provide enough information for us to achieve what we want to achieve. But also lastly, from my end, journalists in this room and outside this room must understand that what is happening on our roads is not a series of unlucky or somehow inevitable crashes, but rather a public health crisis that is taking a catastrophic toll, not only on the victims, but on the society as a whole. Now, if we start from that point, and that even the economists and development experts now have actually categorized the growing road traffic death toll in developing countries as a poverty-inducing crisis. Now, if we start from those 2 points, that it's a public health crisis, but also a poverty-inducing crisis, I'm very sure we'll be able to contribute and make an impact. Thank you very much. And thank you, ACME, and everyone that has participated in this.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Samuel Balagade, in 2-3 sentences, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank all the participants and those who are just listening to us. Now, my last comment, my last submission would be just the traffic police to liaise with the media institutions, mainly to embrace the footage which is captured on these CCTV cameras, just to touch on the untouchables, mainly government vehicle drivers who are always rough on the road, so that they can share that footage with the media institutions for publication. I thank you all.
Right. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you very much. SP Nsereko. Then I'll have my colleague Peter Mesige say a final word. SP Nsereko, please.
Okay. Yeah, I wish to thank you, ACME, and my fellow panelists this evening, and all members that have been listening in for this opportunity to have this rather sensitive issue of road safety aired here. And I also implore you, journalists, that police is a friend to journalists, because without you, our work wouldn't be as smooth, because most times it is you people who disseminate this information to the public. So indeed, that those together to ensure our roads become safer. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SP Nsereko. And just to say that we will share the data sets. They're already on data.ug. Just type data.ug, you will find the data sets that we developed, but also we are developing beautiful infographics that we'll be sharing on social media. And a lot more is coming from ACME for journalists on this question of road safety in the new year. So just check on the ACME website, follow us on social media, and you'll see more. Peter, if you're there and you have a moment, you could say bye to us, please. Hi, Peter. All right, I see him there. He might be focused on other things. So yeah, we'll be sharing a lot of this information, and please look out. So, but otherwise, thank you very much. Let's keep safe, and so that we have a Merry Christmas. But this is just the beginning. You've spent 2 hours here. We'll have more of this. So to have a Happy New Year, you must stay alive. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Abantu kabaremera bano ibintu